Have you ever felt like that dream of owning your own home is just slipping further and further away? Well, today we're going to talk about a direct path to beat the market. We're talking about a real strategy for building your own sanctuary for about $50,000. And no, this isn't some fantasy. It's about making a huge shift in how we think about homeownership itself. And wow, this really gets to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? I mean, this quote sets the stage perfectly. For more and more people, the old rules just don't work anymore. It feels like the whole system is broken. So let's dive into that broken dream. You know the path they always talked about, right? Get a good job, save up for a down payment, sign on for a 30-year mortgage. But that path is starting to look less like a clear road and more like a minefield of financial traps. So what went wrong? Well, the contrast is it's really something. On one side, you've got that classic ideal, the big 2,500 square foot house. But then you look at the other side, the brutal reality of today. You've got these insane interest rates and construction costs that have just ballooned, turning that dream into a financial weight around your neck for decades, if you can even afford to get in the door in the first place. But what if there's another way, like a back door to homeownership? This is exactly where the alternative strategy comes into play, using things like shipping containers and tiny houses to build a real life instead of just a mountain of debt. So how does the 50 grand actually break down? Well, it all starts with the foundation of the whole thing, the land. The strategy we're looking at budgets around $15,000 for your own plot. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be prime real estate in a big city, but in a lot of rural or unincorporated areas, that's a totally realistic price for a little piece of land where you can start building your vision. Okay, so once you have the land, the next piece of the puzzle is the house itself. For about $35,000, you can actually fund the construction of a custom tiny home or a modified shipping container. And that budget covers the important stuff, materials, your basic utility hookups, and all the finishing touches that actually make it feel like a home. This isn't just some off-the-shelf box. It's your space designed the way you want it. And here it is. This is the goal. When you put those two pieces together, for a grand total of $50,000, you're not just a homeowner. You own it. Outright. There's no 30-year mortgage hanging over your head. It's a sanctuary that is 100% yours, free and clear. Now that is a powerful idea. It all sounds amazing, right? But it can't be that easy. And you know what? You'd be right. Turns out, the biggest hurdle isn't learning how to swing a hammer. It's a hidden rule buried deep in local government red tape. Let's call it the minimum footage trap. So, what is this trap exactly? Well, minimum square footage requirements are basically just local zoning laws that say any permanent house built in that area has to be a certain size. And often, that's 1,000 square feet or even more. These rules were usually put in place to keep property values high. Right, it's a fair question. You see this weird rule on a county website, but what's the real-world impact? Especially when you're sitting there with the blueprints for your awesome 300 square foot tiny home. What it means is that in a lot of places around the country, your dream is literally illegal before you even stick a shovel in the ground. This one single rule effectively outlaws the entire alternative home movement in those counties. It's all about protecting the traditional housing market, but it comes at the expense of affordability and new ideas. But hey, don't get discouraged. The key isn't to try and fight the rule. It's to find the places where that rule just doesn't exist. So think of this next part as the treasure map to finding land that will actually welcome your small footprint vision. Okay, here's your checklist when you're hunting for land. First up, look for unincorporated areas. All that means is it's land that's outside of a city's official legal limits. And because it's not governed by City Hall, it often has way fewer rules and zoning restrictions, which makes it a perfect target. Even more important, though, is to focus your search on states that have adopted something called Appendix Q. Some key states to look into are California, Colorado, Florida, and Texas. So what in the world is Appendix Q? Well, think of it as the official rulebook for tiny homes. It's a special section of the International Residential Code that creates clear legal standards for homes that are under 400 square feet. So when a state adopts it, they're basically giving a big legal green light to the entire tiny home movement. It's a game changer. All right, so you found the perfect unrestricted piece of land. That's huge. Congratulations. Now for the next practical question, how do you turn the lights on? You've basically got two main choices here, and you can frame it as convenience versus freedom. On one hand, you can tie into the grid if there are power lines nearby, but you really have to watch out for these crazy impact fees that can cost thousands just to get connected. On the other hand, you can go with a solar setup. For a small home, a modest solar array is often way cheaper than paying the utility company to run lines out to your property. And best of all, it gives you total energy independence. So, let's bring all of this together. We've looked at the problem, we've looked at the strategy, we've identified the hurdles, and we found the solutions. So what does this path to ownership really look like in the end? At the end of the day, it really just comes down to this simple comparison. The numbers here tell the entire story. On one side, you've got the huge, towering cost of a traditional home, and on the other, a home that you own completely for $50,000. The difference isn't just about money, it represents a totally different way to live your life. And that's really the crucial takeaway here. The powerful argument is to just stop waiting. Stop waiting around for the market or the government to magically make housing affordable again. The real path forward is about taking control, finding the land that works for you, and building a home on your own terms. I mean, just think about it this way. The traditional path asks for 30 years of your financial life. This alternative path, it asks for maybe 1 year of focused hard work. So the real question is, which one is actually building the life you want to live?